Are you finally ready to become a copywriter? You know, I suppose it raises a question, what is a copywriter and why would becoming a copywriter be so good for you? All I can really tell you is what's happened in my life. I wrote my first business copy going all the way back in 1985. It's when I'd been fired again as a hairdresser. It was about the fifth time I'd been fired. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to work for myself. And the only way I was going to work for myself is by, the very first thing I wrote was actually a business card and a small advert for the newspaper. And that was actually my start into the world of copywriting. Did writing that little piece of copy change my life? Well, I suppose it's true to say that it did really, because it took me from being employed, because I'd been a landscape gardener and I'd been a hairdresser. So it took me from being employed by someone else to taking control of my own destiny or my own income. So from 1985 onwards, I have always been self-employed. I've always worked for myself, and writing copy has given me the ability to do that, because if I didn't write my own advertising to drive a response for someone to call me for my hairdressing services at the time, I wouldn't be self-employed. I'd still be working for someone else, and I'd be 100% reliant on what they did for me as one of their employees. So going through that, I mean, the story you can read in my book, The Accidental Copywriter. This one. You can read the whole story in the book, The Accidental Copywriter. And it's not really a how-to book, it's just the whole story of how I did it. How now, if I can do it, anyone can become a copywriter. So, did writing copy really change my life? Well, yes, it did, because although I wasn't a copywriter by label, I was a hairdresser. The next thing that happened to me was I opened my first hairdressing salon in 1989. And the thing with opening a hairdressing salon is you have to drive people through the door. So how did I drive people through the door? I wrote my own copy. I wrote my own adverts. I wrote my own everything for that business. Because if I wasn't going to do it, nobody else was going to do it. So it had to be done. And as time went on, clients used to begin to ask me, Alan, who writes in particular business clients really, but people would say, Alan, who writes the advertising for this business? And I would say, well, I do it. And before I knew it, in the kind of late 90s, mid to late 90s, actual hairdressing clients, as I was cutting the hair, would ask me if I'd be interested in writing some adverts or creating some adverts or letters for their business. And sometimes the effect from doing these things, it was dramatic for these guys. It was really, really dramatic. In one particular occasion, when I was still a hairdresser, writing a series of letters for one company sold almost £1.5 million in cars from writing copy. Another client of mine, who was actually one of the sales reps who came into the salon, he went from zero to £800,000 in sales from the letters I wrote for his campaign. And in fact, he went on to sell that company for a few £1,000,000. So did copywriting change my life? Well, it did, because it gave me 3 hugely successful hairdressing salons. It gave me the ability to manage and own my own time, to pick up my kids from school, to use my time wisely and to do the things I really wanted to do and felt I needed to do in my life. And of course, it gave me the financial rewards also. Eventually came the time where I thought, well, this hairdressing is killing me and I wasn't getting paid enough. Although I was the boss of 3 salons, what was really happening was everyone else in the salon was getting paid more than I was getting. So in the 90s, I was getting around £350 a week, and some of my staff were getting £600 and £700 a week. They were very, very well paid. But I started to realise I could get paid more money when I got my first payment of £1,500 without even asking for cash of a client for writing some letters for him. He gave me in an envelope, he said, Alan, here's some money for writing those letters for me. And I put the letters to one side, and it was incredible. And that gave me the whole idea that, you know what, I can become a copywriter. So I started to find out how I can get paid to write. And I realized that every single business out there in the marketplace needs someone to write their copy. Because most business owners are so busy, the last thing they can do or even learn is this skill and the art of writing copy. So the first thing I needed to do was to find someone to teach me about this copywriting. And the first book I ever bought was this book, if I can find it. Here we go. And you can see my original copy of this book is covered in tea and coffee stains. But I have read this book so many times over the years, you just wouldn't believe it. You know, and if you open this book up, there's handwritten notes in there from me, things circled round. Well, I'm saying it's handwritten notes, I'm trying to find where they are. Doesn't matter anyway, so I decided to find out how to write copy properly. And I bought that book, I'm not sure, probably in the late 90s I bought that book. So I started to learn the art and the skills and the finer details of becoming a copywriter. And once I became a copywriter, I started getting clients who would pay me money to write their copy. A few of the very early clients I had were accounting clients, software clients, landscape gardening companies, a tree and a hedge specialist in the USA. I used to write copy for a very famous jeweler. I was writing his copy while he was still in prison in America, in Mississippi. And many, many other copywriting clients began coming to me because of the copy I was writing. And I became a hugely successful copywriter, getting paid insane amounts of money for writing copy. I remember one day I got asked if I could write some copy in 24 hours. And I said yes. And I got paid $17,000 for delivering this copy. And in those days I still had a hairdressing salon. So when I finished my hairdressing, when all the kids were in bed, I went to my computer, which was an old Pentium computer. I sat on my computer and I wrote this copy for this client, and it was delivered, and I got paid $17,000 the same day of delivery for writing this copy. But let's jump all the way over to now. Year on year, there will never be a more important time to write copy than there is today. Because more people after the pandemic got into the work from home ethic. They got into the self-employed ethic. They got into the I need to do things for myself ethic. Which means as more and more people need copy. And I hear a lot of copywriters talk about AI, artificial intelligence, will make copywriters redundant. That's complete utter nonsense. AI can never offer a specialist copywriting service. Although interestingly, it does an amazing job at writing copy. I mean, even I'm shocked by some of the results I've seen from AI. But it will never replace the finer art of writing copy. So how do you become a copywriter these days? How do you become a copywriter yourself? It's actually much easier than you think, but what I would always say to my mentee people is that it depends how serious you take it. If you want to try and write copy as a get-rich-quick scheme, forget it, don't do it, because it'll take too long. This is the way I did it. I read a book, and to be honest with you, it took too long. It took far too long for me to learn the finer skills, because I've been writing copy for a long time. And it took too long for me to build it. It was a slow build really, but at the same time did very well. These days, you really do need to fast track everything. But you can go the slow way. You can buy a book and learn yourself. You can spend a few years doing 1 or 2 clients in between your job like I did. And you can eventually get 1 or 2 clients and charge a little because you need to gain your confidence. You can take that very slow route. Or you can do what a lot of these people online are saying, start writing copy like the experts and all that kind of thing. Copy their letters out and suddenly you're an expert. That's not going to happen. You won't be an expert through just sitting there repeating somebody else's expert copy. It doesn't really work like that. There are processes, there are steps, there are directions, but there are still fast ways to do it. When I work with my guys on Copywriting Mentor, I absolutely guarantee, and we do it, that within a 4-week period they are writing, I'm not going to say it's the greatest copy on earth, but they are writing copy that could be used by a client. And that's incredible to see when they come in writing that. Some never written before, some have some copywriting experience, and they come in and they're writing this most incredible copy. So it's very, very doable, but the only way I would advise it is if you take it so serious, pay for mentorship. I sound like I'm promoting myself, and I probably am, of course. But if you pay for a mentor, you are then making a financial and a mental commitment to make this happen for you. Once you've made that commitment, you will make it happen. You will definitely make it happen. But you need to make that commitment because it's a fast track education. The way I do it, we do 12 weeks very, very full on, and then we do 12 weeks support after that. Or you can go for the upgraded service, which is 24 weeks training, 24 weeks of copywriting training, 24 weeks of business training, and then 24 weeks of support beyond that. Whichever way you choose, it's entirely up to you. But ultimately, if you want to take copywriting serious as a business, it can fund your whole life. It's funded my life since 1985. When people say copywriter doesn't pay, I live in the most wonderful town. We have a car paid for cash. We go on holiday. We have extra things that most people don't have in our life. Copywriting, when you know how to do it and when you do it, it will fund your whole life, your whole lifestyle, whatever it is you want to do. You don't have to become a millionaire writing copy. You can earn great money and live a great life, a happy life, a life of giving, a life of sharing through writing copy. There's different ways to layer up and to live life as a copywriter. It depends what you want. And of course, if you want to become a copywriter, the way I do it on my Copywriting Mentor is to find out what you really need and then what you really want in your life with these skills as a copywriter. Because, honestly, it's really up to you. So how to become a copywriter can become exciting and become the kind of life that can give you everything. And it can give you a diverse life as well. It can turn you into an author. It can turn you into screenwriter. Did you know Ridley Scott, the filmmaker, began his life as a copywriter? Did you know David Ogilvy, of course, is a copywriter, moved into this great agency? Did you know that many famous authors and famous writers, famous filmmakers started their career as a copywriter? Myself as a copywriter, I've written over 21 books now. I've made 6 movies as a copywriter. I've written stage plays as a copywriter. I've written all kinds of things as a copywriter. But if I hadn't become a copywriter, I definitely wouldn't be doing those things also. So becoming a copywriter can be as diverse as you want it to be. It's entirely up to you. So my advice to you, if you want to become a copywriter, is this one. Read a couple of books. I'm only going to promote my own books on here, or David Ogilvy books to you. Read a couple of books to get a sense of what copywriting is. The Accidental Copywriter is an interesting book even for me to read, because it helped me to remember how I went through the whole process of going from mad busy hairdresser to becoming a copywriter. It was crazy. But I got there in the end, and I made good money and a good lifestyle as a copywriter. And David Ogilvy's book definitely helped me to step up on the mark to become a great copywriter, an A-list copywriter, a high-demand copywriter, rather than just a copywriter charging a few dollars here and there. But if you are a small experienced copywriter, you want to level up, mentoring is a brilliant way to do it. If you haven't got a clue and you know you want to do this and you want to get started, having a mentor is a brilliant way of doing it. And I suppose really the question is, why listen to me? Well, I've been writing copy since 1985. I've written hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars in sales as a copywriter. I've written copy that's delivered insane amounts for clients. I once had a client who spent 2 days with, and after 12 hours of him going home, he wrote a campaign he sent to his email list that delivered £42,000 in sales. That was the first sales he had from that list in 2 years. So I've had tons of experience from huge corporations to brand new startups. Writing copy and becoming a copywriter can be a dream for you if you take it serious and you start on the right foot. And of course you start with a mentor or you read the right books. And the rest is up to you. But I can help you to get on the right path. And if you want to become a copywriter, this is the place to get started. I hope I can hear from you. I hope I can help you. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This year is going to be a big year for us upgrading all the videos on this channel. So you'll be seeing a lot more stuff like this.